Apostle A Manyau from Global Revival Worldwide Church. Today I'm going to be talking about the stages of revival. You know, it's very important that we know that we're going to enter into a harvest of souls. But God is one who's going to bring the harvest, is one who's going to bring the increase in the kingdom of God. And this church should be ready for this. And the church should also pray fervently for this. Because the next stage or the next season we are about to enter into is the season of revival. The previous season was the season of the prophets. The prophets warning for telling us of what was about to happen about the revival and all other things. He was correcting the body of Christ for many things. That's why the previous season was for the prophets. So we should understand the time and the seasons that we are operating under the radar of the time of God. So what is important is that I'm going to be teaching about the stages of revival. If you understand, Jesus Christ himself was the Messiah, but him being the Messiah, when he started his ministry, his earthly ministry, he started with a lot of people following him. Because there was a man who was born with fire. This man was called John the Baptist. John the Baptist was the one who brought the revival already, because John the Baptist was the man who had fire. But John the Baptist was just preaching with fire in the wilderness. Jesus Christ didn't have to start preaching in front of a few people, but a lot of people, because John the Baptist introduced him as the Messiah. He said, "This man, I'm not worthy to wear his sandals." So meaning that Jesus Christ was already put on the map by John the Baptist, meaning that he was greater than John the Baptist. John the Baptist has mentioned. So you have to understand the revival had started through John the Baptist. So God has got many ways of doing his revival. He hasn't got one way of doing his the outpouring of his spirit. Sometimes some of the revival might start that's already prepared, and you just come and you just preach the word of God because you're already ordained for that time and the moment of season. If you understand the earthly ministry of Jesus Christ, when he used to preach, if you start with the preaching of the multitude, in the book of Matthew chapter 5, you see that Jesus, when he was preaching at that mountain, he understood it was already a revival already started, and he began to preach the word of God. And you have to understand something. The revival was spread, but the revival starts with a person, and the revival is passed down to another person. So revival is not only for one person only, but revival is supposed to pass down from another person to another person, so that it will spread. So wherever there is a revival, there is an economical change. Economically, there will be economical change. Wherever there's a revival, there is a spiritual change. So you have to understand there's a spiritual change either in the church of God, either everywhere. Wherever there is other religion, they will notice this religion is being God ordained, because God himself is supporting that movement. That's why we see God is a spirit. Then the spiritual man will start taking over to show that I am the way, the truth, and the life. To show that I am by provoking through revival. So the revival, when it comes, you see an outpouring of God's spirit. A revival can start in a church, but a revival has to be started with an individual, like John the Baptist they started. And also a revival can be passed down to another person. So if you look back in other revival that happened after Jesus Christ, you can see it started with a person, and that person spread it to a church, and the church spread it to a nation, and that nation had to spread it all over the world. That's how a revival starts. It can start first with Jesus Christ. Then with Jesus Christ, it spread with the gospel all over Israel. Then from the gospel, then from salvation, it spreads all over the world. That was that revival. Then there's many types of revival. Revival where you see the fire of God. If the same revival that happened to evangelist Philip, there was the fire of God when he experienced the eunuch. That's another type of revival. There's also another type of revival that always happen in many instances. So when there is revival, there is the anointing, there is the power of God, there is the full manifestation of the glory of God. The glory of God is seen wherever the revival is. So there will be economical change, there will be spiritual change, there will be change of people's characters. People will be put into one place, people will come into repentance. So we should pray for the fire of God, we should pray for the revival of God, and we should pray for all the stages to fully manifest in Jesus' mighty name. May we stay blessed. May God bless you.